Churchill gathered the cabinet around him during the war. He said, "Do we need to raise more funds for tanks and planes and ammunition?" And one of the ministers turned to him and said, "Well, we could raise more. We could cut the arts grant." And there was a pause, a moment's silence, and Churchill turned to him and he said, "Well, what's it all for then?"
Well, here I am in central London. Gosh, I was supposed to be in Ludlow today, and oh goodness, absolutely got caught out. I'm Nick Causton. I'm just a dad. I saw a TED talk, read half a book, and went to a festival, and that changed my life really. I started running a project called STEAMco, which is all about creativity, art, advocating for art in our schools, work and lives. Down here in Parliament Square, it's all pretend, so we've got the sign up there just so nobody's under any illusion. We are totally pretending today that we're here because we're using our super virtual technology. Buzzing around all over the country in my little drop truck, a fairly worn out old Citroen and a little trailer with everything you need in it to run a creativity festival. We've been to Ludlow a few times, we've run days in schools in Ludlow, and it's absolutely brilliant to actually be here on Millennium Green. On Millennium Green, in fact, and we've still got that same sign. That's rather remarkable, isn't it? Celebrated the art of Ludlow, my hometown. I thought about reciting some A. Houseman, Shropshire Lad, that would be appropriate. Lots of stories of beer and Ludlow Fair. Very fond memories of Ludlow Fair and the waltzers and urban myths of Ludlow, that a waltzer once went off and through de Grey's window. I did actually hope to be able to dig out a bit of my dad's old film actually, and I've dug out some of my dad's old film. So I've actually got film of dad's old film of Ludlow Fair, so this is it. This is it. This is as good as we're going to get today, I'm afraid. That is a film. That is about an hour and a half of film, Super 8, not Super 8, Standard 8. It's actually, I don't know if anybody out there knows anything about film, but let's show you what this is all about. So that is basically Standard 8. It just has the little, let's get rid of me. I'm assured by my dad that Standard 8 actually only has those sprockets. Let's get a focus on there. Can we focus? Only has the sprockets on the one side, because it's actually 18mm film that's been cut in half. And Dad assures me that, Dad spent 2 months' wages on a cine camera so he could capture our times growing up. It actually runs out when we get to about 16, and I'm not surprised, not least because 16-year-olds don't like being filmed, but it don't actually do much that you dare film when you do see them, when they're not in bed. I was never in bed much. And this is a little projector that Dad gave me. So this is his old, what he calls his cine projector. This is a projector you use to actually project those films. And I tell you what, they don't make things like this anymore. They do not make kit like this anymore. You can keep your iPhones. That is a lovely little projector. Look at that little Bell and Howell projector. Fold those up there. It was funny actually chatting to my son this morning. He couldn't work out quite what they were and why things don't come on MP3s. Put your film on there, reel it through here, little bulb, and it projects it. And we used to enjoy those. And funny enough, Mum and Dad put them all on DVD. And the soundtrack of them laughing and joking and sort of gossiping about various people and what they used to get up to and where they are now. I don't think they realised that the camera that they were filming it on to put it on DVD was actually recording them watching it, which is priceless. So I don't know if you knew that, Mum, but I'm going to put that on Facebook at some stage, don't you worry. So here we are on Millennium Green. This is a lovely spot. When I was a little boy here in Ludlow, this is a swimming pool. And let's see if I can dig some photos out of that. So this is a beautiful swimming pool with big wooden arches and freezing cold changing rooms. You know the story. And we were always late for Latin with Smiler because we didn't get changed and dry quick enough. We never got given enough time as far as I'm concerned. And then that fell into disrepair. It was beautiful, weeping willows, little garden with paddling pools down to the river, and that's all been gone. And delighted, Dad led worked with a collaborator with the community, and they raised the funds to reclaim it for the community. So yeah, really great. And I know this is, I think this, funny enough, is probably my dad's legacy actually. This little spot down by the river. There's a mill house to the right which serves amazing food, which you'd only expect in Ludlow. Beautiful river going there, beautiful river bridge over there up to Whitcliffe, which is a beautiful place to walk. So it's a really lovely spot. Got to stress today though, we're pretending. Don't come down here please, because we're going to get into all sorts of trouble. Funny enough, the last time I was down, not the last time, one time I was down, I bumped into somebody who I gave a copy of one of our newspapers to, actually. One of these newspapers here, talking about poets. I just printed these newspapers with a chap called Lem Cisse on the front, who's an incredible man. If you've never heard his story, check out Lem Cisse, Lemn Cisse, Desert Island Discs. You will cry your eyes out, but be so uplifted. It's just incredible. Beautiful, beautiful man, beautiful story, real poet. But funny enough, I bumped into an old friend of mine. I think it was Nige Ward and his partner. And I'd forgotten, actually, this is one we did when Lem did a talk for us at Barclays Corporate HQ in Canary Wharf. And this was, I think this is not the first newspaper I'd ever done, but I was looking back, got some super posters in the middle of there. Dominic Wilcox with his stained glass driverless sleeper car, and I think we've got a really, yeah, look at this, check this out. So this is the work of Bob and Roberta Smith. We have to save art schools, and you can see it's got transparent, super cool writing. When you do that, you can see through it because it's green, and I'm using a green screen, funnily enough. So there you go, quick flash of that, look, and suddenly it is green and back like that. So that's how this is all working. But we have to save art schools, and every school should be an art school. And what we're building here on with this project is an online after-school club, an after-school art club in the clouds, or out of school, not after school, out of school. If you're out of school now, you can do it anytime you like. So let's call it an art in the cloud, out of school art club, and that's the Rocket Kids Club, which we did this morning, an online community, a Facebook type place where kids and their creative carers they can share it, because kids love celebrity and they love endorsement of their peers and other people as well, people they perceive to be cool and famous. So what we want to do is we've built it, we've got a Facebook type platform, Facebook, whatever we want to call it, calling it the Rocket Kids Club, in fact, where kids can post stuff. It's going to be totally safe and secure for kids and creative carers. When I say creative carers, you have to be careful there, because I used to say STEAM told when you say parents, you have to say carers. And so we said, well, hang on, let's just say creative carers. Because a creative carer is somebody who cares about kids and creativity and sees the value of that in our schools, work and life. Kids to have the skills to ensure it exists. But also maybe so there's an element of, maybe you could look at your child and think your child's your pension, I don't know. So that's really what the Rocket Kid Club is all about. And it's children, creativity, it's culture, it's people, it's place. Places like Millennium Green that you see here, people are going to spend time to raise money to preserve a place like this. The Assembly Rooms in the middle of town, which is a community arts centre, film place where people share and spend time. And my dad's an usher there. So that's really the kind of general vibe there with those places. So we said with John Lewis, art is what we call it when what we do might connect us to somebody else. So that's the vibe of art and raising high expectations of ourselves and our children. I think we'll take that, I'll leave that there for a minute, it doesn't matter. We have to help our kids aim not just high, but higher than high. We have to help them dream, find their passion. We call it their art. And this project, for me, is a life project now. It's the second half of my life, and I'm going to be focused on this. But it's ambitious. We aim high. We achieve a lot. We push really hard. And there are cynics out there.
It might not work, but here's the thing. The guy who invented the ship also invented the shipwreck. And either you're in or you're out. Either you want to play this game or you don't. Art doesn't work because we did something conventional and predictable, and here it is industrialized, right? Art works because we connect.
So the festival that we will be organising in 2022 is a festival of creativity in its broadest sense. So what we're looking for is events that will help to bring people together and show the value of art.
Debate like this is absolutely overdue. Being from a working class families where we've never had access to the arts.
I think this is amazing, and we should encourage Nick to do more of this so that we can connect friends through art. Is actually amazing.
Well, a lot of schools have set them stories. Keep doing what parents spend enough time with the kids. They leave them on the iPads and things like that, and I absolutely love it. Keep doing what you do, and I love your passion.
Again, boys will be boys, better let them have their toys. Girls will be girls, cute ponytails and curls. Must put an end to this stress and strife. I think I want to live that sporty life.
I'm going to make it happen for you, Nick.
I appreciate that.
Well, I'm going to make it happen for you because what you're doing is, in the end, absolutely brilliant.
I had the idea of getting a big screen to come here and celebrate, and I did a thing called a crowdfunder. I said to lots of people, I only gave myself 24 hours, and they said, you'll never do it.
One time for the Lord.
I think creativity is absolutely everything, you know, to secure the jobs for the future.
Niall, what does collaboration mean to you?
For me, collaboration is everything.
Well, I better get this sign down actually. The pretend delighted to tell you about it, but you really must not be coming down. That's why we've got our technology and people. I'm down the Millennium Green at the moment. I'm going to nip back up to Wycliffe, so I'll just zap myself up there. I cried when they cut that down, bless her. And it's going to stand on Wycliffe, look out over the town. So what a lovely view. I've stood out here and looked a lot of times looking out over Ludlow. You've got Branclea over there, you've got the Ludlow town. Branclea, which A. Houseman wrote so much about in all those days ago, is actually, believe it or not, buried in the hills behind the Branclea in St Lawrence's. No, not my mum, because she's a bit tied up at the moment. Rector, whatever we call him. And by some sort of stroke of luck, if I press that button there he is. That's, excuse that. Do we call you rector, vicar, father? What's the term?
Kelvin.
Kelvin. Hang on, bit of a Brummie accent in there as well. Goodness me, what is going on here? So Kelvin.
I'm a rector, Nick. Yeah, I'm the rector of Ludlow. But all of the above really depends on where people's backgrounds come from, and I'm not precious about it.
I actually gave my mum communion one Christmas Eve as rector of Ludlow.
Yeah, it's as most people imagine, end of the work and you do your services and your sermons and all of that, average stuff. But there's lots of hidden things which people, don't really understand unless you're walking a mile in those shoes. And it can be from the elements of the parishes where you're living. In a market town, we have some very impoverished areas and some very wealthy areas. So there's a real diversity to that. And then also St Lawrence's is the second biggest church in England. Wow. And so it's a quasi cross between a large parish town church and a small cathedral. And so running the building project and trying to make the building work for itself so it's sustainable in restoring and maintaining its heritage, but also being an active church the other 6 days and 22 hours of the week that we're not doing normal worship stuff in there is really important. And as you said, it is a hub of the town. It's right in the middle and it dominates the skyline, so it's an important place for Ludlow.
Well, I'm going to take you off the screen now actually, because I've got a couple of pictures inside. We've got a lovely picture here of the high church, whatever it is, with all the beautiful misericords. Tell us a little bit about that, would you?
Yeah, that's the misericords they're very unique really. They're over 400 years old. The wood comes from a Bristol shipyard. The detail in each different pieces of the misericord is immense, and we have varying ones on there from bog standard things that you'd expect to see in a Christian church, but there's also the little oddities of like the green man, pagan background. There's the alewife who you see her getting pulled into hell for shortchanging somebody at the bar. And so there's a bit of humour in there too. And then that part of the church itself, the east window, is the largest east window in the country, perhaps Britain, which depicts the life of the saint of the church, which it's named after.
Wow, beautiful. So I must admit, I did sing in the choir a few times, and nice. I must admit those seats were a little bit hard on the back side, if you excuse my terms. And the whole church had these really quite hard chairs. And I was there, about a year ago. We went up with Mum because she used to do a lot of work up there. And you've taken all the chairs out. What's that all about?
Yeah, well, I'll start with your mum actually, because I think probably nearly 30 years ago, the church started modernising itself and put a shop in the back corner. And actually, your mum was right at the spearhead of that, and then continued to run it very successfully for the church. And really that was the start of a chain of moving away from what the Victorians did. Pews, everybody believes they've been there forever. They haven't. They're mostly put in during the middle to late Victorian period to bring a formalness to church life and worship. And so what we've done, we realised how that restricted the space, and trying to get the building, we use it for BBC concerts, folk groups, choral societies. We had Beckett done over a 4-day period at the beginning of this year, medieval bazaar fairs in church, because we can use that space so well for the community. And so taking the pews out was really at the forefront of that, to make it the main body of the church, a versatile space for the whole town.
And are people embracing that opportunity to use that space? Because when I was a boy there, you won't know this, there used to be a town hall in the middle of the town, which was a massive, it was actually called Ludlow's Carbuncle by some architectural writer. And we had some great nights there. I was the sound engineer for a punk band called The Exhumed. And the ironic thing was, I was sound engineer for a band called The Exhumed for a year before somebody told me what exhumed meant. And I went to grammar school and I didn't know what that word meant. I was a bit horrified. I think my mum was, but my brother was in the Virgin Destroyer, so I think my mum saw me as an improvement on that. But so yeah, has the community embraced this space and are using it for non-church related work and projects?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we surveyed the town well beforehand, and as you can imagine, you're never going to please 100% of people on any project you do, but we had well in the 90% who agreed, from businesses to local residents, and obviously those who use the place as a religious venue. And then those few who struggled to get the concept, nearly everybody who's come in, and then I've walked them through and shown them what we're doing, they all then understand and buy into the vision of where we're trying to take the church towards. And yeah, we've used it for, as I said, a variety of ways. We had a fashion show in there with the local retailers of the town. As I said, we had Beckett, a 4-day play where the entire nave was taken up by a huge set, and we were worshipping, as you said earlier, in the high end of the church, the chancel where the misericords are. And we'd also got other plans for this year. There was a lady who's having a large wedding and a partner of about 300 people, and we're going to have the after venue in there as well, the wedding reception. So wow. The whole thing can be done inside the building itself. But unfortunately, due to the lockdown, that's now on the cards for next year.
So it's a place to get married and have your wedding rave knees up, is it? I mean,
yeah, it can be. We've done funerals, i.e. the wake afterwards in there. We've done a couple of those. So we're just trying to make it, this is a beautiful space, and we've moved potentially further down the road with like some soft furnishings in one of the corners, or maybe side chapel, so people can come and just take 5. I mean, what we've learned from this lockdown is, I think the pace of life generally is too quick for most of us, but once you're on the treadmill, it's hard to get off. And I think one of the positives out of this lockdown, it's made us all realise that many of the basic things we need are actually more than enough. And when we come out of this, perhaps we don't want to rush back into the, like I said, the full-on treadmill, fast pace of life that we was doing before.
It's interesting. I was in Cornwall on the weekend. We did a day in Bude in local family. And he was saying how his dad used to say to him, try and find some time to be and not just do all the time. I could certainly do with some of that, because I'm 10 to the dozen at the moment. Any comments, observations about those human instincts and how we are finding these things?
Yeah, I think that, everybody enjoys their freedom, and the fact that you can just normally walk out your house and go to the shops or go and see friends or go to work and those things. So it's not to say that people are not missing those things, because I think every one of us is. But it's made us realise, I think, that, and even in Ludlow, we hear the famous saying up here of when Southerners, and especially people from in and around London, move to Shropshire, that they can't believe how neighbourly it is, that they walk up the high street and they'll have a dozen people say good morning to them, whereas when they were back in a major city, they didn't know who their neighbours were really, and they lived next door to them for 20 years. And if you say good morning or hello to somebody on the street, they look at you perhaps like you're up to something or a bit suspicious. Very outward looking neighbourliness. But the lockdowns brought out a new way of connecting, whether it be through Zoom, FaceTime, Skype, or just a calling system. And the fact that neighbours are getting to know each other even better. I mean, I've got a neighbour 2 doors up, and we've always had the pleasantries of the good mornings. But now we're regularly doing their shopping and making sure they've got their farm stuff, because they're in there, and I'm sure across the whole of the country in the UK.
It's interesting, you use the word connect there. We have this phrase, art is what we call it when what we do might connect us, that they can dream to be one day, maybe make a bit of money, make a lot of money, make a career, or maybe just make a few friends in the world a better place. And that seems to be happening. Talk to me about art in its broadest possible sense in Ludlow. It might be the art of food, it might be the art of dance, and those sort of examples.
Yeah, I know, as you know, Nick, this is a big thing in Ludlow. So Ludlow's a foodie town. It became, we have a big food festival, a beer festival, a sausage trail in summer, and brings in a lot of tourists to the area in the medieval side of town. And but running alongside that, we have a permanent art display in church. There's an art exhibition every year in church, and we have theatre productions on in the town. As I said, this year they did Beckett, but they used to have them in the castle, big open air Shakespeare plays. Ludlow is a very pretty town itself, but it does appreciate the art, and like you said, not just painting and drawing, but also food and culture through music as well. But it's big on the classical stuff here too. It does very well in St Lawrence's for classical concerts. They're always sold out when they come.
I'm actually quite proud of myself because I've actually managed to find a photo of the broader part of the church with the removable seating. So we've got some wooden chairs in there and then some kind of ready folding ones. Those are your chairs, and that's how it's configured for services and concerts, I presume, is it?
Yeah, no, actually we've got some new modern wooden chairs. They stack about 40 in the height of about 4 foot. But we use the fold out ones just in the side aisles. But yeah, the configuration is now, we can make it any shape. I mean, we've used it in the oval as well, so the performers being in the middle, and they've had an oval around them. We've used a collegiate style sort of herringbone as well down the church. So that's the freedom also of taking the pews out, which it gave us, which obviously those who are performing love, because it gives them that versatility.
It's a lovely space, isn't it? It really is a super space you've got there. I'm intrigued about you, actually. I mean, how long have you been in this? I was going to say in this game. I should be very careful. Yeah. Actually, saying you're on the game, sir. I'm sorry about that. It's a bit of a slip. My mum will be slapping my leg for that one. How dare you speak to our rector like that? Is this a live? Well, tell me about your background and where did you come? How did you get here?
Yeah, you got it right. When we met, I'm a Brummie, and
it's a big place. Whereabouts? Let's get specific.
Yeah, so I'm originally a Brummie, and I had a bit of a...
Hang on, before you go on, whereabouts in Brum, just out of interest, roughly?
Well, I'm from a place called Sutton Coldfield, and everyone normally goes, oh, that's the posh part, but, not everybody's posh from there, so, I had a reasonable upbringing, but I was a bit wild, and as a late teenager, I was extremely wild. I used to go out on a Thursday and come home on a Monday, and, God knows only where I was sometimes.
That sounds like a plan. That does. I fancy some of that. Going out on a Monday, coming back Friday.
Good. And I got in a bit of trouble. I'm not ashamed to say. Providing you learn from your mistakes, they're okay, aren't they? To make. And I got in a bit of trouble, and I just realised if I stayed in the area where I was probably always going to be mixing with the same people, and I just wanted something different. And I wasn't brought up in a church household. My family aren't practicing Christians, and I had a friend who invited me to church, and I went to church with him, and I went in quite a wild young man, and I just felt somehow healed in this service. It was a bog standard Sunday service, and I'm not ashamed to say I went in there, and I'd like to think I'm relatively tough enough to look after myself in many situations, both physically and emotionally. But I went in and just cried. I just had tears run down my cheeks for no reason. I wasn't sobbing like a baby. And I came out and I felt just somehow lighter, and I knew something was going on, and I couldn't quite put my finger on it. And so then I did an Alpha course, which most of you might know about if you don't look it up. It's a short course about understanding Christianity and what it does. And I then decided, look, I've got all this energy. I was quite fit physically. What do I want to do? So I went into the army, and I joined the Royal Green Jackets. I was in there for most of my 20s, and was then enjoying a good career. And an army padre said to me, have you ever thought about working for the church? Because I was quite overt about sharing my faith with people when the opportunity arose, and I thought he was mad. And
did that make you popular in the army? I can imagine did people sort of swerve to avoid you, or did you manage to engage them in a way that was...
Yeah, it's funny you say that, Nick, because some stories I've heard of people that has been the case. With me, I don't know, maybe it's just because who I am, but I always found people respected it. It was quite interesting. I was in a fast moving infantry team. We did train for strike op operations, and it's a rough environment. And when I was in my sections or my platoons, quite often people would swear less around me, and somehow respected the fact that I had my, if you like, my mantra, my following of Jesus, and I was trying to make everybody else around me in somehow, I suppose, behave or act in a more humane way in a very tough environment. And so it worked for me. And then I was very, very blessed, and you couldn't predict this if you tried. I left school with very average grades, and there's my padre put me forward, and the Bishop of the Armed Forces, and I went to 2 Oxford colleges and Nottingham University. And the reason I went to the Oxford colleges is I thought they might go off my army reports because they were good, and I'd stick my neck out and just give it a try. And I got in at all of the colleges or universities I went to. And so I ended up having very average grades at school, but going to Oxford University and reading theology for 3 years, right, and coming out with a good grade. And I just look and think, you couldn't manage that if you tried. It was definitely a hand on my life at that time, which gave me a huge blessing.
And do you feel that this, I don't want to patronise, but authenticity, if you like, or your particular journey has enabled you to reach other people, particularly young people in your work?
Yeah, but definitely. I think we all warm to people and have empathy or an epiphany. What's the word I'm looking for? When you connect with somebody because you have a similarity with them. Not empathy. Sorry, my mind's gone blank. But
is it synchronicity?
Yeah, that would do. I mean, it's the point. You connect with people if you know they're from your similar background, and quite often, in all walks of life, you'll get some people are more academic, some people are more practical, some people are into fitness, some people are into music, some people, into art, and they're the things that connect you to people. And so I think each one of us has a story to tell, and if we're willing to tell the story and share the story, then we're more likely to going to have that, like you said, that connectivity with other people, because you warm to them. And if they're optimistic and positive, then obviously they can have an impact on your life, and the more optimism that they give out and you draw into, the more optimistic you tend to be. So I do think that this, in the Christian terms, it's the Holy Spirit, but I think each one of us has this spirit in us that if we're willing to let others plug into it by sharing it, then we all grow through that learned experience with one another.
That's lovely. I mean, it's a lovely way of saying it, and I can't imagine a nicer person.
Appreciate it.
No, it's really, really lovely, and I'm so glad that the support you've given my mother through her illness and the role you play in the community. It's invaluable, and I'm sure you're absolutely flat out at the moment. You're one of those unseen heroes. I'm sure it's keeping you very busy, is it?
Yeah, it is. It's funny. I'm only building off, and I remind myself of this a lot, and I think all of us have to. And the VE celebration last week was a reminder. But there's lots of people in our communities. Your mum's definitely one at St Lawrence's and in Ludlow, and your dad, that they've done so much during their middle-aged period up to their sort of retirement, that we're just building on the foundations that have been laid before us all the time. And but it changes, and so as we've changed the church, ministry has changed as well, and especially in this period, we're having doing weekly videos online. We're doing weekly services. There's a huge calling system category. We've helped with the food banks and the delivery of food and pharmacy collections and shopping, and it's gone busy like that. And also the administration of our Church of England institution is now fully on board with Zoom. So for instance, I was meant to be doing a 4-day training course, residential, in Gloucester next week to get ready to have a junior priest, and I will be his training priest over the 3 years while he's with me. And now that's been done through conference calling through Zoom over 4 different days over 2 weeks. So even for some people there would be a quieter period. For us now it seems to be getting much busier.
It's interesting you say that. I don't know if you've heard of the business concept of the long tail, whereby there are now lots and lots of small markets. In the old days, the pop stars used to chase number one. That was all they were interested in. Now, because we have global reach with a band or with a song, you can find your micro niche globally and still have 100,000, 1 million followers, even though you're not massive across the board. So my point is, I think one of the upsides of this experience we've all gone through is we've all reevaluated the way we do things. We've found new ways of connecting, and it's been a very useful time to stop and take a check. So really, I think people are finding new audiences, is what I'm saying. So a friend of mine is a crazy DJ from Glastonbury. Actually, he's not crazy, I just mean very excitable and does amazing work, very creative. Now, he goes to Glastonbury. You won't get in a 5,000 capacity tent when he's DJing. Yet when he's in Waltham Forest in East London, if he does a party, he's lucky to get 150 people there. You know, and I've done that. I've done bands around Ludlow and Shropshire. You know, they'd have 10 bands on a night because they knew they'd all bring 10 friends. That's 100 people drinking beer. That's the business model. So what we've done is it's almost, I wonder if that could apply to the church, in that you could, there's almost a market globally. If there's a market for people to come to Ludlow to see that church, there's a market globally for people across the world on a micro basis to come to celebrate their faith in your church, maybe once a week, and the next week to go. So you've actually got the opportunity for new audiences and a virtual collecting box at the end to help pay for the physical building. And it's amazing if you are creative like that. Would you agree?
Yeah, for instance, we, on an average Sunday, you know, bog standard week, we have about 100 to 250 roll through our services at St Lawrence's, and obviously much more at Christmas and Easter, we've got into the thousands, but the normal week is about 150, and our videos on Facebook, which are going out, reach about 1,200 people, so it's almost 10 times.
Wow.
And the people it reaches, about half of them actually watch it. You know, it tells you who's actually paid attention and tuned in, and the field goes as far as Canada.
Wow, that is incredible. That's what people used to say to me, pay attention, all the time when I was in church. But
could try hard.
So really, you actually need to be experts in social media and marketing and targeting and segmentation, and putting £10 into Facebook to get 1,000 people to then put £1 in. Suddenly you've got some return on investment, haven't you? These are new challenges and new skills that you need within the church community.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that this is going to be a crux position of we've had an opportunity to explore some of these areas, which has been forced upon us, because normally we're almost too busy with the standard way of running things to find the extra time to do this. Whereas actually, because we've been forced into this situation, we've had this exploration period and realising there is definitely fruits to be drawn down upon through doing these new ways, like you've just said.
Amazing. Kelvin, I know you've got a crack on. Just one thing I'd like to sort of go into, and I haven't planned any of this. I don't think I've planned in my life, to be honest. But I just want to show you this picture. This is a gentleman, West Indian gentleman in his 80s now, called Charlie Phillips, and he's, as you can see, he's holding one of our I Love Art signs, and he basically is. He came over to England, not on the Windrush boat as such, but that generation.
Yeah.
Lives locally in West London. He would have lived on All Saints, or in those sort of tenement blocks around there back in the day, and is a photographer. And his claim, if you like, is he's almost, well, he doesn't claim it, he's acknowledged as the photographer to the Windrush generation.
Yeah.
Beautiful photographs. You'd know several of his works if you saw. He's represented by Getty globally. He does do speaking. He's living hand to mouth like everybody else. He's never been acknowledged by a Knighthood, OBE, CBE, whatever. And I know there's a lot of contention about those titles and how they link back to the empire, and some people reject them, some embrace them. I think it's just great that we acknowledge people's contribution to community. But one of the things that Charlie, in fact, we invited Charlie to an event we had in the Houses of Parliament. And do you know what? He'd never been in the Houses of Parliament before. Never been in, but such a famous character. And he was telling me, actually, he took a photo of Jimi Hendrix in the 70s. I don't know if you've heard of him. I don't know if you're old enough to have heard of Jimi Hendrix, but he was at a party. Can you imagine saying to somebody, you were at a house party with Jimi Hendrix and you took his photo, and none of the newspapers or none of the magazines would take it because you were a black man that nobody knew?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I mean, it's just, so what I'd like to say to you is that Charlie, and I'm not, there's a connection here. So Charlie specialises, I don't know much about West Indian culture and Caribbean culture, but I believe from what Charlie's told me, and we've done 2 or 3 things together, that a large part of their culture is the celebration of life at death, at a wake. So the funeral, the wake is a big part, and Charlie is known for photographing those wakes and does public speaking on that very subject. So one I'd like to say to you, if you did ever do any events and there was a chance that you could get Charlie on a stage, or we do it virtually one day, I'd love that. But also, these are difficult times. I'm running around like an idiot with a high-vis jacket on and a helmet. I'm pretending I'm cycling. I'm using technology. I make no light of the circumstances, the situation. My mother's desperately ill. My father's doing his best to look after. My brother's ill, can't look after them, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, my family here, they're not seeing me because I'm doing this 18, 20 hours a day. But these are dark times, and we respect and honour that. People are dying, Kelvin, and you know that. And what advice do you give to people at this time that are fearing death or experiencing it within their close family community?
That's a great question.
Sorry if that's too heavy, and I'm sure it isn't.
No, it's not. I mean, it's hard to sum up in seconds, but I think we have to be honest, that first of all, it is a horrendous situation. And but the truth of the matter is that nothing lasts forever. And just like, and this is where last week with the VE celebrations was, their situation of the war, the Second World War, was for 5 years almost. And therefore, for us, we're hopeful that this doesn't last, a year, 6 months, but definitely not 5 years. And so I put it into a quick phrase for you. We have to look forward with determination, and we can look up for inspiration, but we must never look down in desperation, because that is negative. So the only way to succeed in anything is just to make small steps and constantly look forward, knowing that all in the end will be well. And for the Christian faith, it has that eternal promise, and this is obviously what we believe and what I believe. Also, I've been doing the job that I do, that no matter what this life brings, that the next life, that heaven, however people picture it, that connection with God is peace, love and joy. And the truth of the matter is, no matter what our situation, whether we're stuck at home now, we can always have a good impact on the world around us. Sentence of don't tell lies, don't spread gossip, and don't do idle banter. And I think if we just abided by that and watched how we spoke to one another more and looked outwards, then the world would quickly become a much better place. And so I just think it's holding on to those simple things, really.
Well, I'll be honest with you, if you'd said that a month, 2 months ago, people would have said, yeah. And do you know what? I think these are words that are resonating with people across the country now as they address their mortality. People who are desperately ill, elderly people. I mean, a lot of people have a dilemma if somebody's really ill and and they're elderly. Do you call an ambulance if you know that you may never see them again? And I've got a phrase actually, which I don't sort of bandy this around, but it's just come to me. To die alone must be a fate worse than death itself. Do you know what I mean?
I do.
And how do you reconcile yourself with that challenge of, do I phone 999 and get an ambulance knowing that they're not going to get prioritised? I don't know. It's very difficult.
No, a huge blessing in my ministry of what I've seen, when we deal with families who are handling death and bereavement, is the greatest gift really is to have loved ones around you when that happens. And with the stories we heard at the beginning of this, there was one of a young 13-year-old boy, wasn't there, who sadly died without his parents by his side or any of his family due to the COVID-19. That is the saddest story, really. I mean, this is where holding on to loved ones of family members and friends is worth more than any material gain that the world can give, and we know that.
Absolutely. One image of one of my best friends, Richard Evans, and I'm going to share this, who lives now in the Canary Islands. He's from Stourbridge, actually, around that way originally. He's got the same beard, holding up a mirror ball, because we're going to end up on an upbeat. But we have parties, we have discos in here. Really, really good people like you. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. And you keep everybody tuned in. I know all the good work you do with the children's schools and stuff. And like you said, it's getting people to flourish. We all have a story to tell. So God bless you and all your work. And thanks for inviting me on.
And thank you for all you do for my family. Thank you, Kelvin. You take care. I know you've got a busy day.
Stay safe.
Bye-bye. Cheers now. Wow. Well, what an introduction. What an introduction. So, where next? How about up Wycliffe again? Back up Wycliffe. Oh my goodness, we are on a back foot here. So, Malumba, if you're watching, we've got a guest who wants to come in now on Skype, and I don't have the details to hand. So we've got somebody we've got 15 minutes with, very, very special person. Ludlow, synonymous with art, with culture, with food particularly, as we've heard. And we've got somebody Diane, Scraps of Paper, Diane Lyle actually, who's going to talk to us about festivals. Apparently she's very well connected with the festival scene. We were hoping to get Anita on, who's chair of the Ludlow Fringe Festival, but she's not around at the moment. So let's see, we haven't got her details on Skype here. You're going to put those through on Skype for me, Malumba? There's a lot of flapping and panicking going on somewhere in another room. So basically, Malumba is our first full-time employee for a period for this project. We've got an Arts Council grant for this, believe it or not, celebrating communities, celebrating creativity, celebrating tools and technologies that we can use to connect us and we can use to express our creativity. So the good news is I managed to get my mum and dad connected on Skype. So my son started doing it about 3 days ago, and if you've got any teenage sons, you'll know that things don't tend to often sort of get done eventually. So that was left in the balance, but my dad actually sorted it. He's 84 and he managed to get himself on Skype, and then we had about 15 minutes earlier getting the camera to work. So we're going to have a chat with my mum and dad hopefully later on, which will be lovely, because I haven't spoken to them for a while. I haven't seen them for a while in any shape or form. So I don't know about you, I don't tend to do video conferences an awful lot with my parents, if at all actually. And I'm one of those people that turns the video off when I'm on video conferences. And if you had a haircut like I've got at the moment, you probably would as well. So let's see what's going on with, okay, I've got a number here. Let's try Skyping it on that. And okay, so let's put that in there like that and search for, yes, Diane Lyle is looking good. This is, I've been told it's going to be a really exciting conversation, this one, so I'm very, very excited about this. Let's just turn that down for a moment. So we are live and direct in Ludlow, Shropshire, in the Welsh Marches, a slow food town, a cultural town, a lovely little country town. The castle there, you've got the church, medieval streets. I'll put a bit of a video up in a moment, and we'll have a look at that as we go through. And it looks like Diane is connecting. Oh, we've got a picture. Oh, hello. Right, why can't I hear you speaking? Is it because I need to press that? Can you hear me, Diane? You can hear me. I can't hear you. I wonder why I can't hear you. Phone on. You have. Why can't I hear you then? So if you look at the middle of the screen, you'll see 3 circles. The one on the left has got a line through it. That means it's muted.
I've unmuted it.
Okay, Diane. So if you look to your right,
yep.
Look to your right. You're kind of looking at your phone, but I'm over here.
Okay. I'm looking at my desktop.
And so your camera is over to the right. Look to the right. That's it. You're looking at me now. That's great. So what are you looking at? Is there a little camera in the top of the laptop or something, or have you got a separate camera or?
Separate camera.
Okay, so that's what you want to be looking at. So you could move it and put it on top of your screen. Because I know we were glad to speak to you, but Anita was going to come on. I got the dregs actually. So Diane, tell us a little bit about what you do in the community there.
Okay, so nearly 9 years, and have been trying to get outside of that. I've been trying to get some sort of arts festival going. Obviously, Anita does the fringes that go on outside of that, which I've been very supportive of. The one particular project that I am hoping to take forward, a very shabby walkway underneath the railway line that crosses over the Sheet Road.
Oh, is that the bottom of Sheet Road Bank by the top of Stevenson?
Yeah.
Where there used to be an Ludlow, are you?
Well, I'm not obviously from Ludlow because I don't have the right accent. I've lived in Ludlow for 10 years, and I've been in Shropshire for 14.
Well, I live in London and Win, really, can you? It doesn't matter. There used to be an old-fashioned, it was the oldest tractor you could imagine. It had metal wheels and metal which they used to give us to play on in those days, none of this health and safety nonsense. So do you talk about the little walkways? You go under the railway bridge then, are you?
Yeah, so
I'm going to get a picture of that up on YouTube. Keep talking.
The railway. And you can't stop graffiti project.
Hang on, so when you mean there is graffiti there now, do you mean people are just tagging it and it's all a bit messy and looks like vandalism as opposed to an art form? That's the correct answer.
But one of the things that I took absolute exception to, so far we've managed to spell. So I'm thinking my idea.
Don't forget to look over here. We're over here. We're over this way.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's all right.
So my idea is a graphic depiction of the history of the local area. So when you get and Sandpits has a really bad reputation in town. I think I know that it was deserved about 3 decades ago. People just think that if you cross the railway tracks, you're going to be murdered in your beds. Proud of as well. So my idea was to, I'll do the research, upper primary, mainly sort of secondary school adult artists involved as well, so that ideas, some pictures, some just some ideas for how they would. I've got support. Well, before this, rail line, but also more significantly from Network Rail. I've got a couple of guys that is into the schools as a dramatisation of the art.
Oh, wow.
And get the kids. It needs developing. I've kind of parked it for now because I can't do anything. So really, I'd be interested in knowing whether you're interested in this at all, and what you might be able to do.
Well, it sounds fascinating. It really does, and I've just found the spot actually on YouTube on good computer there or screen by any chance.
No, I did say I've only got one
Don't
screen.
worry, that's
sorry.
fine. Don't worry, it's fine. So I've now found the spot, and I'm just going to let's not that one. What's going on here? There we go. Hang on. So they've got an old photo.
You know, it's been decommissioned, and at some point in
So at the moment, there's nothing going on in there at all. At the moment, it's just been random graffiti from.
Good, but I know that the philosophy is if I try and organise getting rid of it, that would be the sensible thing to leave it. But actually, to try and get beated at the same time, and the police managed to find the people to actually invite those guys back to do something which is allowed.
Sure, by the side of the tunnel, because it looks like or is it just bricks? It could actually be quite interesting, that whole space. Do you think is your plan to do the graffiti on the bricked sides going up as well as the tunnel?
Oblong bits of wall, oblong bits of wall.
Yeah.
So that would be a little bit more work.
What do you mean shape? Do you mean do you mean triangular when you say that?
It's kind of like breeze block, only it's probably not pipes going underneath the railway, and they haven't been. Nothing's happened to them, so they're not exactly disintegrating. But
I should be careful saying things like this because there are lots of connotations. But I live with this necessarily come on today to sort of fix everything. But I think this is a really interesting project, and I'd love to be able to help. And when you say it's like a sprayed name of Bill or Bert or Fred or whatever their street name is, or has somebody tried to do something like
somebody with a spray can making patterns?
Okay.
There is that I've got the boards need to be removable when they do their annual maintenance. I've kind of got that fixed. I've found boards. I don't think it's going to be difficult to get them fixed because it's just putting screws into 4 inch, probably 4 inch gap to still allow the drainage to go through. The gaps. And so they will be fixed so that they.
You're proposing putting a canvas up of some sort, are you, or walls?
No. The boards will be boards. It won't be a canvas.
We're actually talking about putting a surface up on which you would paint the graffiti, and that's because Network Rail require that, is it? They won't let you. They won't let you just paint on the concrete.
No. And actually, you wouldn't want to do it. It's texture. If you've got a different the street art project is.
Okay.
So the boards will be there. They can be lifted up, and it would get destroyed every time there was heavy rain.
Okay, not to worry. Well, and you're confident. Okay, so what's stopping you doing this? Just so I understand. Is it a new
what's
idea?
stopping me right now is I can't get out to the schools to take the project to the schools. I can't find. and I mean that's the main thing.
Because of
I've got
coronavirus.
Yeah, I've got everything like, and the people that I've been talking to over the last 2 years, they keep moving on and doing another job. No, I'm not doing it as a counsellor, because if I do it as a counsellor, it'll still be parked on Lee. I might once the project is up and running, and I know how much. I might go to the council to get a little bit of a grant from them, but actually I'd far.
So you're keen to use art and creativity and the tools of spray cans and the people of the kids and the community through art, and use that to inspire. Have you seen the work? Have you seen the work that we've done with JR? Out of interest, have you heard of JR?
I haven't.
Write that down. I'm not on about Dallas now, the guy who got shot in Dallas, but JR. JR is a French street artist who, or the Palestinian Front, whatever, and takes their photographs and blows them up onto big walls. And he won $1 million from the TED Talks people, and basically he's spending all that, and he's a very inspiring man. So check his work out. He's done 2 amazing TED Talks. The solution that graffiti artist who is actually quite accessible, so that your whole community, you're not going to be able to see it from there. But I've got a poster on a wall in my studio here, which is actually, I'm going to struggle to get that. A Bristol graffiti artist. I suspect he might even be a mate of Banks's. You never know, because they're thick as thieves down that way. Those graffiti boys. And we didn't get our Arts Council grant, so we kind of put it on hold temporarily. So if you know those kind of pictures you get of, I don't know, on the screen at the moment, is All You Need Is Love, with a picture of a lady with flowing hair. He's done big street graffiti in Liverpool, in graffiti there. Absolutely stunning work.
Can I just answer my phone? Hold on 1 second.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, I'll turn you down. So this is Inky. Inky is an utter legend in the world of graffiti. As I say, Bristol. I think Bristol born and bred. I think he's based out of London now. Lives quite near us actually, but really cool work. Look at this stuff. How do you fancy an underpass with this kind of work, and maybe a little talk with Inky in the school, getting the kids engaged, inspired with somebody who's world class in terms. And all this stuff is available for sale, I know, on his site. Of the stained glass at St Lawrence's Church, possibly, in a way. That general. I think this is actually no, it's not Inky. That's like a website that's selling his stuff. So he's one of the top graffiti artists in the country. To connect my hometown with him. Oh, what's that? There's a phone box there. Yeah, look at that. Check that out. So imagine if imagine if they had a phone box. She's gone off the line. We'll have to ring her back in a minute. Imagine if that phone box looked like that. We've got Inky to do that before they decommissioned it. And actually, ironically, how about if they did? Here's an idea. How about if Inky painted the phone box and it was decommissioned and sold as a piece of art to pay for the installation and to pay for Inky's time? Because Inky would need some money to go to Ludlow for a week. I was going to say he could stop at my mum's, but she's probably not up to having a graffiti artist as a guest. I'm sure there's enough Airbnbs in Ludlow, or places he can stay. But ironically, they could. Or Diane had a call actually. Maybe this is her call now. She's hung up, so maybe she's gone. I don't know. That's a really interesting project actually. Now, I was going to go to. Let me see if a former councillor of Ludlow is available. Other councillors are available, but I'm contacting one particular one now. Let's just see if he's available. Oh, I'm going to hit that button to make it work first. So that's Inky. And let's drop that. And go back to there. And go back to, let's go back down to Millennium Green, shall we? Right. So it says it's ringing. Hello?
Hello, Nick.
Hello, you got that camera working? You got your camera working?
Yeah. Can you hear us?
I can hear you, I can't see you. Remember to click the button in the middle to get your camera up. can hear you. Can you hear me? Oh, this is encouraging.
Can you see us both?
I can see you. Mum's. Oh, there we go. Hello. Well done. Well, good effort. That's not bad. You've installed... It's a bit bright in the sun, is it? You don't need to see me. I'm going to turn that camera off anyway. I'm turning that camera off now anyway, so don't worry about that.
Well, it's crashed, apparently.
Has it?
It had said it had crashed. YouTube had crashed.
Oh dear.
No, we can see you two at the top right corner, but we can't see us.
Well, don't worry. I was just chatting to a lady called Diane Lyle. Do you know her?
Yes, we know her.
What do you know about her? Because I've just had an interest. She's a counsellor, I think she was saying.
Yeah, she's a counsellor, and she used to come and play tennis with Richard, her partner. And she also does if you've got something that's broken, you can take it to the Maskell Centre once a month to this repair workshop, and people will repair your items.
The Maskell Centre. Where's the one about that? The Bishop Maskell Centre.
Yes.
Is that what used to be our old school?
No.
Is that what used to be our old school?
The old school, yeah.
Junior school.
St Lawrence
Yeah.
Simpson.
Yes.
It goes on. You remember there used to be that old tractor there, didn't there, years ago?
Children used to play on it.
Yeah.
That's a flipping death in a playing field for kids to play on.
We've never been on it. We've never been on it, but you used to love it, you kids.
That goes under there. What's that like? Have you been down there lately?
Not for some time, no.
The subway.
Yeah,
subway,
the
yeah.
subway.
People used to walk under the bridge.
Under the railway.
The subway are supposed to stop people going under the bridge because it's dangerous probably walking around there, is it?
Very
Yeah,
dangerous.
yeah.
Very dangerous.
It's very
yes.
narrow, and if a bus or a lorry happen to be coming in at the same time, I don't think they both get past.
So why if they've got a subway did people go under the bridge if it was so dangerous?
Oh, they don't go under the bridge. That's the point of having the subway.
I thought you said they didn't use the subway. Oh, okay. The subway was used, was it? Because she
They
said
people used to walk, but
Really?
now a long time now, they walk on the subway. They do not go under the bridge because it's like a death trap, even in a car.
because she was saying it's quite derelict, that subway, and she's quite keen to. She's looking into the idea of maybe because they've had some graffiti down there, and it's been almost like borderline vandalism style graffiti. So it's not quite high art graffiti, and it's not quite random.
I can imagine that.
We haven't heard about that, but it's a good idea because she's good at getting things on the go. You know, Ludlow. She's on the town council, isn't she?
Well, she said that she's a bit frustrated. She's a bit frustrated with the council because she says that stuff doesn't really seem to get done. So she wants to do it as a member of the community as opposed to a member of the council.
That's a good idea. Very good idea.
So basically, what she wants to do, she's done all the plans, costed it all up. So they'll put some sheeting on the walls, and then get a graffiti artist or painter to come in and do a workshop with kids in local schools. And then they'll all do the graffiti maybe together or watch the graffiti guy do it. And I was just telling her about a guy I know in Bristol, Inky, who does beautiful stuff actually. You'd probably quite like it. It's almost Victorian, you know, those sort of Victorian pictures of ladies with big hats and like Mary Poppinsy type stuff.
Yeah.
Well, one of the store in town closed, and they what was a co-op, and then there's another firm came in for about 6 months. And that was all covered up with boards on the outside, and then local youngsters actually did do their own painting on that, and it was absolutely superb.
When was that?
2 years ago?
2 years ago, yeah.
And who organised that, do you think?
They didn't just do it ad lib. They had people sort of helping them, but it was their art, and that is very, very nice.
What do you mean their art? What do you mean by that? Sense of ownership. So the first thing they didn't do is rub graffiti over it because they felt it was theirs, you mean? I see.
Oh yeah, very much so, yeah.
It's been very, very well looked after. I hadn't noticed anything on top of it. So because the kids have done it themselves, they take more care of it.
I was hoping...
And now with the shutdown, you see there's little chance of the place opening or anybody doing anything to it. So they'll probably stay there for a good bit longer.
Oh, I see. And where was that again?
It's right in the corner of Upper and Lower Jailford.
What's the co-op?
What was the co-op there?
Oh, at the very top of town. All right, okay, so quite central then.
Right on the bend, yeah.
Okay, I'll have a look on Google and see if that's been done. It's funny because I was checking Digby, and that's right, Anita Digby. So she's chair of the Fringe Festival,
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Remind me what happened, because obviously Ludlow used to have the arts festival with the Shakespeare. And
For a long, long time, I think they just ran out of money and found it sort of very hard to go in. But I remember when I used to go, I think Shakespeare can be very, very boring. But when we used to go into the castle and see it there in the evening, Technicolor, fully good lighting and everything else, it was a different thing altogether. It was absolutely fabulous. So they do a wonderful job with the Fringe, the films and theatre and music, and they do their sort of their version of Shakespeare as well. So that is it.
Which was in the Bull Pub car park for many years, primarily, wasn't it? So has that taken over and become bigger and bit more polished then, or?
Probably.
The other Fringe festival used to be Fringe in the Bull Pub.
That's the one I'm talking about. Yeah, that was the old Fringe, wasn't it?
The old Fringe, but now it's much more to replace the main festival.
Yeah.
But it's run very, very well. Anita does a jolly good job, and also Diane was involved in that as well.
There's a wide variety of stuff for everybody, of all ages, and they had really made a good job of it altogether.
And what other sort of art and culture thing is going on these days, would you say? Because obviously food.
Because because it's so uncertain about when there's going to be an end to this pandemic. But the thing is, they've had to cancel it because you can't sort of arrange for people to come if it's not going to be on.
Yeah, it's like in town it's really like a ghost town. This is why I think every day seems the same, whether Di's at home all the time or I walk around, a good long walk, and if I saw 20 people, that was it, and a few cars, and it really is like a ghost town.
What is the population of Ludlow these days?
Pardon?
What's the population of Ludlow these days?
I don't know, about 7,000 or 8,000.
Tell me about the story of that, because would you describe that as a community arts centre, or?
Yes.
Oh, it is, yeah. I was very influential in helping to sort of get that going many years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And it for everybody. I mean, when I was a councillor, I used to canvass and people say, oh, there's nothing for kids in the summer, but a lot of summer activities for youngsters when it was going. And they shut it down for the last, so they're renovating the whole thing inside. But of course, that's all stopped as well now. But because all the money went to Shrewsbury and Hereford, and they left Ludlow out. And the fact that they managed to keep it going all this time, it's been a credit to all the volunteers who've kept it going, including the chief. It would be a total tragedy if that never opens again. We started off, when it started off, we used to play over 30 years. We did table tennis.
Really? Blimey.
Yeah. And we thoroughly enjoyed it.
And those
yeah.
And are they popular?
Yeah, well, that's a big advantage, you see. You can see top theatre and things like that.
Report it though. Do people go?
Oh, yes,
very professionally.
Opera and ballet and things like that.
Films,
yeah.
Well, films are films, aren't they? But screening of National Theatre productions, because one of the big hits of the coronavirus lock-in was A Man and Three Governors. Did you see that?
I didn't see that, no.
That was on YouTube. It was absolutely brilliant, really good, and that made opened a lot of people's eyes to the fact that the National Theatre does stream in that way.
Oh yes, it's a very new thing, but it's actually very, very popular. Allowing people to come to something that's very expensive, but you can go for a good night out for about £25, depending what you're going for. They have all sorts of concerts, modern concerts or classical concerts.
What's that whistling sound every once in a while?
It's a joy to hear all the birds. In fact, we're sitting out here now and they're not coming to feed, so we're now sitting here looking at the blue sky, and there isn't a single aircraft trail anywhere at all. No pollution.
Is that unusual, do you think, to that degree? Would you imagine there is?
I hear crisscrossing all over the place, yeah. We've had a lot, because we're quite near the city's large airport. So
you saying that reminds me of the old Homer Hickam Rocket Boys, when the boys looked up in the sky. Remember that?
Yeah.
I'm reading that book now.
Best book I've ever read. It really was. It covered everything, kids growing up and the rockets, and to think I'm not going to spoil
what Nick has told us.
Yeah.
I'm not being funny, but you've read lots and lots of books. Why did
I did about 10 or 12 years at the Oxfam bookshop until Guy's illness sort of took over, and I got all sorts of books. This was on the shelf 2 or 3 weeks. Nobody sort of bought it, and then I thought, I'll just try and see what it's like, and it was so homely, seeing the Sputnik and think, why can't Americans do this? We're going to build our own rocket. And they blow mum's they go to some big state schools because they kept sprayed with bits and pieces when the rocket kept blowing up. It's fantastic. It is a fantastic book. And all
a window in London and it landed in Leeds. Do you see that one?
I didn't see that, no.
No, we fired a rocket.
That sounds dangerous. I hope you're fully insured.
Well, we do our best.
I had the cooperation of the headmistress or the head and the staff to doing all different activities, fire all their rockets off, and then you finish up with your super rocket, and we sort of disappeared in the sky. And I know the one came down and actually a bit windy, and it drifted, and its parachute and got caught up in a tree. The kids thought that was fantastic.
No, it was good. It was good. We
Did
had
you guess how? Did you manage to keep up with Keith Good with his trains?
No, we didn't. Is he the guy with the trains that go around his garden?
Yes, because I sent you his phone number this morning.
Did you send it to me or Malumba?
I sent it to you. I tried to get it through to Lumumba, whatever his name is, and it kept rejecting it. So I probably
well,
didn't
that's
get
because you had.
You didn't forward.
Say again.
Didn't forward it on to him.
Well, I haven't had time to check email today, I'm afraid. That's the trouble.
Have you had a good day? That's the thing.
Yeah, we had a great time this morning. We had Richard, chap from Shrewsbury, doing some coding stuff, and somebody else, I can't remember. I just can't.
The wire thing, isn't it?
Pardon?
The wire.
I can't remember actually what we did this morning. It feels like days and weeks ago.
Back to the things have you done as far as Ludlow itself is concerned?
Hang on a sec. Can you hear me, Malumba?
Yes, hello.
So, Mum, Malumba's on the
hello.
Malumba's on the screen just below you at the moment. Can you hear him?
I can see that.
Hello.
I can't
How
see
are
them,
you?
but I can hear them.
I can't hear.
You should be able to hear them on your phone on Skype. Can you not hear them on Skype? Say something, Mum.
Hello, Lumumba.
For some
I
reason,
cannot.
we can't hear you for some reason. Oh, that's a shame.
Can we speak sign language?
Malumba.
Oh, shall we give him a ring now and see if he wants to spend?
So what
Okay.
I'm going to do, I'm going to send you his email. He's the train guy. It'd be quite a nice way to end the day, wouldn't it? In somebody's garden with some.
I'm going to ring him right now.
So you haven't got the number yet, Malumba, have you?
No. Once I get it,
Bye bye.
You hold that and I'll go and get it.
That's a shame we couldn't hear him. If she sent it to me. She sent it to me. Hang on.
I'll show you the garden. Do you want to?
Well, here we go. I've got the number. So I'm going to. There we go. Lovely. Hang on. We'll get that up full screen then. Hang on.
Well, we got some cabbages and chard, onions, beetroot, garlic, and onions, and then right over there is my broad beans, and they've got some beautiful shoots. I put them in October, and by and large, I've been very pleased with everything. But because they're in beds, it all dries, and then we like our little home here.
So tell Mum I've just forwarded the email. She doesn't need to go and get it.
Where are we?
So tell me about Millennium Green as well. What was because you spent a lot of time.
It was an original swimming pool and then they found there was a crack in the pool, and it was a good excuse then to change it. And there was very involved with it. They said, well, no, we don't think you can have another one in Ludlow like that. But they actually met up by the side of the river, and they saw all sorts of butterflies and birds. It was the cherry tree actually that started it all off, because the cherry tree's been there for donkey's years. But then I actually called a meeting at the Ludlow Maskell Centre. So we set up a committee. I was chairman.
That was a public meeting, was it?
Very keen. And we set up a committee, and Paul was 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. And the work he did was quite phenomenal, unfortunately. And as a result of that, he actually persuaded these ladies from the lodge who'd come down from Manchester. They said, oh yeah, all right, we'll give it to you then. Right by the river. I remember when 2 grandchildren, your sons, Sam and Jesse, came down, they used to think it was like a beach. They used to play right in the water, and they thoroughly enjoyed that to other people.
Jack and Rosie.
And Jack and Rosie, the same, they loved going down there. I've got a beautiful picture of Jack and Tiddlers. But no, it's still going to be home again soon.
Ludlow's jewel in the town. Nice food. It's all been taken over now by another. Always packed, such as this weather when it's open, of course. When it's possible, they'll all be back.
A ring of roses. Bunch of dancing in a big circle, holding hands, and
even jazz concerts there, and
brass band and all sorts of things.
Lots of events there.
Just on a bit of grass.
Yes.
We could have done that on any old bit of grass.
With backdrops and things like that when they come and do it. We had the sealed knot that comes to Ludlow occasionally.
What do they do?
You remember that?
Battles and things like that. Yeah, and the gear. Yeah.
One thing that I was thinking of actually, this club I'm starting, which is like a almost like a Facebook for kids to sort of be inspired to do toys with, or Uncle Arthur and his engineering, or artists or painters, or play scheme, but on the internet. Like doing it, what they say, in the cloud when it's on the internet. Tell me about the place you started it, how long it ran for.
Well, first of all, Dad just started it off by getting funding for the youngsters in Ludlow in school holidays in the summer.
The lady on the town council said to me, "Why don't you set up a place?" Big leader of that.
I ran it for about 17 years, and we had young people helping to work at art. We'd have outdoor games, we had drama, and we had craft, and we had a section leader take part, and it was an absolutely wonderful time. We used to run it for 2 weeks in March. We used to run a road, bring all the skates and all the matting, and we used to run that on a Friday night once a month to raise money.
Fundraiser for your play scheme, was it?
Yes, and we used to lovely young people.
Well, the people who helped were very much mature students, and I'm never really wanted to mix in, and Rachel, just sitting there telling them stories. That made my day, telling youngsters or kids, reading nice stories.
Kids who are about to go to university, so they'd come to the end of their education, but it's like a little holiday job for them,
Well, we did.
Were they local people, or did they come in for it?
They'd all come from Ludlow schools, The age of the children that we had were from 5 to 11 years old. Once they started secondary school, they were too old to come to play. Megan, Dork, she was one of our leaders in drama. She is now a top opera singer. Her father, Peter Dork, do you remember him?
Who, sorry?
Do you remember Peter Dork? I say now. She's a top opera singer.
Wow.
The Welsh opera. Yeah, she was one of our.
We've planned this very, very last minute. We got the Arts Council grant last week and struggled to connect with many people because we're just taking it each day as it comes. But who comes to run the choir? He was very. Sean, was it? No, was he?
No, in Ludlow we've got Steve Dunnicky and his wife Penny, He's a jazz group. He went to Cambridge to do music, and he's now an art.
I saw him at the Bridgnorth Jazz Festival a few years ago, and he was absolutely fabulous.
Yeah, and he's got a brother, Patrick. He's a younger brother. He went to Cambridge as well to do music, and he's now one of the King's singers. They're such a talented family.
Dad was brilliant, wasn't he?
He's in the choir. She's very musical as well, but unfortunately she's not able to do much at the moment because she's had some kind of illness. But it's a wonderful family. So
productions, Alan Ayckbourn and all that sort of stuff.
No, they didn't have that anymore. Unfortunately,
No,
it folded up.
yeah. They were very, very good at the time,
good,
but
yes.
I think it's like they were very, very good staff.
Excellent.
What can we talk about next?
Sorry? I don't know.
We love Ludlow. We've been here a long time now. We love Ludlow. Although we both come from the East Coast. Guy comes from Suffolk. I come from Norfolk. But we love... She's a Suffolk Swede and I'm a Norfolk dumpling. And we've settled here over the years, and Ludlow's a wonderful place to be.
And don't you forget, you must promote Ludlow Hospital, because it's a wonderful thing that we've got. It's now a minor injuries unit, a thing for Ludlow. And they're still working on. They've got the latest X-ray equipment and scanning equipment there.
Yeah, Peter Caulfield, who runs that, or chairs that.
They need 3 chairs.
He's wonderful, Peter Caulfield.
But did you have access to the arts? Did you go to concerts and music? And what was your musical interest there?
The only thing he had was a cinema at Milden Hall.
Yeah, I mean, it's 60 or 70 years ago now. I remember our history master was very keen, which we thoroughly enjoyed. And that's so long ago, it's unbelievable.
Did they used to have village dances in the old days, Mum, when you were in Barton Mills?
Yes, we did. Dad, I didn't know your dad then, because he's got no sense of rhythm. But we've had some good times jigging along, haven't we?
When we were married, so they had a local play on, and we've always been amused by it. No, it's actually in Milden Hall, wasn't it? We've always been amused by it, that every different glade, same wood, different glade, and that was it. We just sit there killing ourselves.
What do you mean by that, sorry? Say, what do you mean by wood?
They had a notice.
After every act.
After every act, when it came on again, they had a notice. And it's quite amusing. But the funniest thing that's ever happened to us, to see that strange theatre in by the canal, do you remember? And all these people came on. It's something like that was the week that was.
Oh, the news review at the Canal Cafe.
And they were very good, but the trouble is, Di started two guys on the stage trying to say their words or stay there, because I didn't leave an embarrassment, because it was so hilarious. Di could not stop giggling. And they found
one of them.
Were they actually funny, or did you just get the giggles about something else?
He said it.
And was he trying to be funny though? Was he trying to be funny, or were you laughing inappropriately?
Him or me?
Was he trying?
You know, and he said something which made me laugh, and I could not stop. It was absolutely incredible.
Maybe that's the key to your old age then.
Yes, it might be, Nick.
Action Jackson, do you know that guy? Have you seen him? Dream big, act now, never give up, you're amazing. Do you see that guy? He's one of the people we've had on. Anyway, I said, what would you recommend to people in the current lockdown? He said, dance every day.
Dance, yeah.
Just to physically move yourself and use your brain and all.
My things to do every day is keep your mind active with playing Scrabble or something that tests your mind. We had a game of canasta the other day, which we haven't played for about 5 years or more. And at the end, I had this enormous score, and I went out of the game, and your father threw all the cards at my canasta.
I said I've been waiting 60 years to do that, because when we lived in a flat in Cardiff,
when we
were first married, she threw all the cards. You have a big pile of cards, and whoever picks up 60 years to get revenge. But one thing I didn't do, which she did, she just cleared off.
to bed.
And when I thought, well, I'm not picking the cards up. And then when I went upstairs, she's sound asleep in bed.
Right, I'm going to let you get on. I think I can't think of much more to talk about. Oh, tell me about the only thing I'd like to.
60 years, and we've got such different outlooks on life, but we stuck it out for 60 years.
This morning was when I got that job at Jones the Butchers.
Oh yeah.
Do you remember that? That was.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was the making of me, if I've been made, but do you remember Jules? And I probably ever learnt in a grammar school.
This as well.
Wait a minute. When you were working at Jones, first of all, I mean, you just suddenly started going into the shop.
Did I have to wear a tie in the shop?
Yes. Well, you used to work out the back, didn't you, first of all?
Yeah.
And then said, we'd like you to go in the shop and help in the shop. And before they'd let you help in the shop, they sent you home to get a necktie.
Didn't you work in the Feathers as well?
In the hotel, yeah.
I always remember saying you now know all about silver service.
Well, see, I think I'd forgotten all about your holiday play scheme until last year when you mentioned it, and obviously I'm always aware of your community work, youth work, table done, and obviously that Rocket Boys book. I mean, if you hadn't found that book in an Oxfam bookshop, I don't know where I'd be now, because that was the only thing I've ever been able to do that anybody'd actually pay for. Half-day sessions, firing rockets, making rockets, and talking to kids. That's the only thing with Steamco that's ever come anywhere near to sort of providing any income.
Well, I had the book, I read it, and as I say, I found it an amazing book, a most delightful book to read. And I remember getting in touch with you saying, hey, look, this is exactly what these kids did in the 50s, what you're doing now. But it took you a long time to sort of take it on, and then I'm very glad you did.
Also, Nick, I forgot to say that I used to run the church bookshop, didn't I?
Yeah.
Shop for 30 years.
Well, this isn't supposed to necessarily
be.
Pull the screen down. You're looking. It's over your head. The camera at the moment. Drop it down a bit. That's it. That's better. Go on.
It was a wonderful place to be because you met people. That time was fantastic. In fact, one day I was working in the shop. A gentleman came in, and I always used to like to listen out for dialect. And this gentleman was talking, and I said, "Excuse me, but are you from Norfolk?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, that's interesting." He said, "That's where we're from." So I said, "Oh, it's amazing." He said, "What was his name?" I said, "Corsten." And he said, "Peter Corsten?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Well, we went to school with each other." Somebody like that would never have known. So they managed to meet at the Feathers in the evening, you know, because they were staying over for a couple of days.
They're connected in so many ways. We'll never be able to shake our friends off and find new ones, I don't think.
Well, I think it's wonderful to keep in touch with people, you know.
Well, I think this is the difference between the two of us. I mean, with Di, everybody is her friend, and with me, I find it having friends very difficult. But but we get by, and as I say, we love living here, and we're enjoying the environment.
Just 1 minute, we're just about to done. So what do you think of the whole Steamco thing then, and what we're trying to do with it?
I've got to water my vegetable patch.
What do you think of the Steamco project then, and what we've done with your inspiration as my parents and connections? And
I think it's fantastic that you've involved so many people in so many different things, really. I mean, you could spend days just sitting and watching all the things that you do at the schools and the people you've met. You've met some famous people, and it's marvellous.
We're so proud of you, how you sort of keep it all going at such a rate. In fact, the lady interviewing on Radio Shropshire this morning, she said, hold on, Nick, I can't get a word in edgeways. But it takes a lot of keeping up with what you're doing, I must admit, because we're a couple of old fogies in a way. But no, but the thing is, we've been very proud of you, and Richard, both of you done so very well, and we can't sort of come down and see you, but hopefully we will one of these days.
And lovely daughters-in-law that we never had daughters, but we've got two nice daughters-in-law.
Okay, well, lovely to speak to you. Lovely to see you. It's the first time I've seen you since the coronavirus. Just had a couple of phone calls, haven't we? A few phone calls.
Right, yeah.
Lovely to see you.
My hair is.
Pardon? Stay safe.
All the best, Nick. Love you.
Yeah, love you too. Bye bye.
Good work up.
Bye.
See you. Well, there you go, live and direct. That's that really. I mean, I just interested in that perspective, and I'd love to go and meet other people. I'd love to see somebody interview their parents. If anybody out there's got an experience like this in any town, village, community of parents who've directly or indirectly inspired them to do whatever they're doing now, I'd love to hear these stories. I'd love to share these stories. You're never going to get on the BBC with them, I'm sure, and I'm not. So yeah, there you go. Talked this morning very briefly, and I'm probably just going to show you a couple of 2-minute films now just to sort of wrap this up. But I guess now I'm advocating for creativity. I'm trying to inspire creativity, and I'm trying to action creativity by getting people to do things. I love that project with the graffiti community grants for things like this. I think coming out of COVID-19, you'll see money be available for projects that enable us to build on the community connections and that human connection that we've all made since we've been in here. Lovely to speak to Kelvin, the rector of Ludlow St Lawrence Parish Church, talking about what's going on. It's been a really, I don't know, really community thing. Talk about the art of Ludlow, it's more mum and dad, people like Diane, and they all know each other, people like Anita at the festival, just doing these things and using art, using culture to bring people together, and I hope it's inclusive. Ethnic diversity isn't a major issue in a place like Ludlow. As I said this morning, there was one black person in the area, and he was called Black Pete, and he lived on Clee Hill and was known across Shropshire as Black Pete. That's the way people spoke, and I don't know how he felt. I can't imagine he particularly enjoyed being singled out, but I guess maybe he was used to it. I don't know. I'm unqualified to take that conversation much further. Proud yesterday to be part of the decolonising of the curriculum conference with Jimmy Rotherham, with Pran Patel from Birmingham, not far from Ludlow, Nathan, amazing people there, Michelle Macaulay, Native American, just wonderful that these conversations are being had, and we can celebrate diversity and inclusivity, because art is what we call it when what we do connects us to somebody else. Art being the combination of creativity, tools or technology, and people. Those are the killer ingredients: creativity, the tools, and the people. And that's hopefully what you've seen this afternoon. We'd love to get more people on the show. Maybe we could do that again, or they can post videos within this group on the Facebook page. Maybe this group on the Facebook page is a place for people in Ludlow to put their messages, to put their video clips, and let's share them and let's celebrate them. And maybe we'll come back. I'm hoping to do this in more places. Tomorrow we're in Leeds, Saturday we're in Oxford, and Sunday back in London in Brent, which is London's borough of culture. They had, I think, £6 or £7 million from the Mayor of London to run a whole year-long festival of creativity. They had a brilliant start. It's obviously gone on hold now. So we're going to try and catch up with some of those people. We're going to be putting the feelers out. So we'll see you in Leeds tomorrow. I just want to play this film actually because I'm advocating for creativity in education and a re-evaluation of education, to deliver an education that's fit for our kids, to help them thrive and not just survive in the brave new world that we're going to be coming out to now. The 21st century has been brought much closer and it's much more imminent, and I think we've had a re-evaluation of the value of work, the value of certain people's skills in the care sector, particularly carers, creative carers, and more traditional carers in care homes, in hospitals, the fire, the police, the services, the teachers, the teaching assistants, the caretakers, the site managers, the cooks, the head teachers, the brave school leaders as we call them. People who really stepped up and do what they always do, but in spades. And I think of them as like an iceberg. People only see the bit sticking out of the surface. They don't see all the work going into the cared for children, the 60 calls a week that have to be made to children who are vulnerable, who need to be checked in on, who have safeguarding issues at home or they're cared for. A lot of work, a lot of people going beyond the call, a lot of it's a thankless task. And what we've seen today are people who don't do it to be thanked. Diane, maybe my mum and dad's, Diane Lyle, who wants to get that graffiti done. And if one thing that comes out of this, if we can get that graffiti project done and connect those kids with their community, I'm not pretending to go into Ludlow to start a graffiti project, 'cause they've clearly done some more. But if I've got a connection with somebody like Inky or others, and we can make that happen, how amazing would that be? Would that be worth an Arts Council grant? I don't know. In terms of education, I remember I said this morning, so flick ahead if you remember this from the kids thing this morning, but I remember going to a talk at the Royal Society, which is the scientists' kind of members club near Trafalgar Square, and seeing a man speak who was the Astronomer Royal, one of the most lovely looking men, handsome, elderly, senior man, Martin Rees. He's the Astronomer Royal, Professor Martin Rees. He's the Astronomer Royal. And I was blown away by his talk. And I forget, there's a lovely phrase, H.G. Wells, I meant to look it up, something about education being the difference between catastrophe and success or whatever. And it's all down to education. And I didn't speak to him there. It was interesting actually, because it was my birthday, funny enough, and they then had a guest speaker, and it was will.i.am who came out. It's quite a small event, and I managed to speak to will.i.am very briefly. And then a month later, I was at an event at the Science Museum, and Professor Rees was there again. And I managed to have a chat with him and told him what I was doing, and he said he'd be delighted to help in any way, and gave me a card. And I looked at his business card, and it said Baron Lord Rees of Ludlow. And I said, wow, I'd born and bred in Ludlow, lived there for 18 years. I didn't realise we had a Lord of Ludlow. My mum and dad didn't know. And I said, what's your connection to the area, if you don't mind me asking? And he said, well, my mum and dad founded a school. They were concerned about education. They had views on education. They felt it needed to be more progressive, and that was his words, I think, to embrace the skills that our kids needed, because there was a feeling that the Victorian-based system that was in place was fit for purpose, but the purpose had changed. And there's a lot written about that. And they started a school called Bedstone College, just the other side of Clunway, Lentwardine. And I was delighted when Lord Rees, Professor Rees, made this film the day that I went back to my old school to run one of our Steamco days. Oops, let's have some audio. That's not a good look, is it? Why have we not got any audio there? Let's have a look.
It's great to be talking to everyone at Ludlow Junior School.
In 1972, this school was built, and I was one of the first children to come here, Albert Einstein. And he said, imagination will take you anywhere.
Hello, my name is Martin Rees, and I'm now the Astronomer Royal, and in fact I have the title Lord Rees of Ludlow.
You know, it's really important to have the basics in school and learn all those skills, but applying them, that prepares you for life.
It's been fantastic this morning actually that we've had McConnell's in to have a local engineering firm actually take part in
Microbit, absolutely loved it, seen the coding, great to have specialists from Barclays in to help out, lots of parents helping with it as well.
William said this is the best computer lesson he's ever had in his life.
Co-op, that's one of the best ones anybody's going to say today, because co-op is short for cooperation, people working together, and that's what co means. Co means together. So I'd like you all to turn around and look at those people at the back of the room. I'd like a big round of applause for all the parents who've come here today, and businesses, because what Steamco is, it's about getting people like parents, businesses, secondary schools, universities, colleges to come and work with primary schools who are so often overlooked.
I'm from Tesco, and I do the Farm to Fork project, which invites children to come into store and go into schools to talk about where their food comes from. In Ludlow Tesco we've had over 2,000 children now in the past year doing this project, so it's a fantastic project and it's all free.
My dad was a governor here, he was a councillor here for many years. He also volunteers in an Oxfam bookshop and this book. High five, Martin!
I'm a mom and I've come in today. It's good, really good. I'm learning something.
I'm a parent at the school and I just think it's wonderful what they're doing. They just do such lovely things, and this just adds to it, and the school's just buzzing and you just feel the energy and everyone's excited. It's great. Lots of interesting things.
This is a Green Power Goblin car, and this is a kit that Year 5 and Year 6...
I would absolutely recommend it. We need to get more excitement about learning into schools, and this is a great way to do it.
Lord Martin Rees there, introducing our Steamco Day in Ludlow. I've had some great news actually. There's a chance we might get one of the most exciting and inspiring things for me that you can imagine to come on. I just can't quite believe our luck actually. What have we got here? Oh, yeah. So this morning we did our Rocket Kids Club and we did a little bit of animation. And if I move over here a little bit, you might be able to see it. We actually took a picture. We took that picture of Ludlow Millennium Green, and then we animated these two sheep that somebody drew in Cornwall last week on green backgrounds. We cut the green off, and then we showed how to animate them using Adobe Premiere. So there you go. I don't know, my dad will be sort of going crazy, spitting feathers at the sight of sheep grazing on the Millennium Green. When I said when I was a little lad growing up in Ludlow, I used to love model railways. I used to love making things, and I showed this morning as well, but any excuse to get my trains out, because this is my box of trains from when I was a little lad, which my mum, I think she found it in the loft, and I made this box actually. I actually made this box in woodwork. Look at those lovely joints there, like proper. Have I screwed those joints? It's a bit of a bodge. Oh yeah, I've done joints and I've actually screwed them. So this box would have contained my pride and joy back in the day. It's got my name on the front, just in case there's any doubt that is mine. And there you have it. Those are my little trains. There's my train set. Some of my little loco there. Got some others somewhere. I couldn't find that actually. I've made models of all the stations. I don't know where they are. They were here somewhere. And I always dreamt of having a proper steam train, and I actually got one. So I've now got, well, I think now, I bought this about 8 years ago when the boys were a bit younger. So that is actually a real steam engine. There we go. That's a steam loco. And interestingly enough, they're distributed by a company called, I think they're AccuCraft, and they're based in Church Stretton, which is just down the road, the road from Ludlow. And this engine is actually called Caradoc, which is named after one of the mountains, big mountains in the Church Stretton Hills. And you can have a look in the back of there. It is actually steam, so it's got a little pressure gauge, and you work it on gas, and the gas boils up the boiler. And we'll have to get that out on some steam days. I think I have to take that up to Parklands Primary one day actually. So I think the kids, Mr. Dyson will probably think I've actually lost my marbles completely. But yeah, I reckon there's a few kids out there that would love to see a little steam train like that buzzing around. So I don't know if I've got oil on my hands now. Let me see what's going on with our call. I'm going to contact my friend Malumba. Malumba, stand by, incoming. So Malumba's our production manager, who's we got the Arts Council grant. The first thing I did was get some help because I'm killing myself slowly. There's no doubt about that. And here he is. So let's get old Malumba up here. So Malumba, how are we doing?
Yeah, I'm doing good. We've got Keith waiting for your call.
Oh,
You've
really?
got the number on your WhatsApp.
Okay, I'm going to get rid of you. Actually, hang on a second. I'm going to keep you on.
He's got the train. He's got it all cranked up.
Okay, keep it quiet. We don't need to tell everybody what it is. Come on, this is art. We need to surprise people. Don't give the game away.
I forgot the number.
Yeah, can you Skype it to me on the 02 number?
This is going to be a very exciting moment.
Can you Skype it connected? This is so exciting. So exciting. I've got an aeroplane flying over the roof here, which is making the house shake. So let's get Skype up. This is.
You got it?
Hang on a second. Hang on.
Yes. With his wife is helping him along.
Great. Okay, he's a lovely man.
So this should be very exciting.
Why can't I fit that in there? Okay. I think so. It's not. No? It's not immediately revealing. Could you do me a favour and call him and talk him through getting onto the Skype onto a Steamco 02? Yeah, I'll just mute you. So you're muted now. Actually, which I'm gonna jump to now. Another 2-minute one. And this is a corker. I don't know if you heard this morning. I was on BBC Radio Shropshire at 7:25. It's absolutely fantastic. The energy. I tell you what, these BBC local radio stations, they're just lovely. The presenters are just full of energy. And Mum tells me she watches it every moment, which was just brilliant. And it links to where we're going now. So there is some method in my madness. So let's cut to BBC Radio Shropshire.
On BBC Radio Shropshire. I heard the sound of a rocket being launched in Coalbrookdale yesterday. Don't worry. It was an event aimed at getting young people in SCO to put on a day of workshops, talks and creative stuff for children, their parents.
Here we are in Ingenuity, The world's first ever steam train was built here by Richard Trevithick, who came up from Cornwall, because nobody in Cornwall could build a boiler strong enough, because only the Shropshire lads and boiler lasses could make boilers strong enough for him.
3 months ago, Matt Hancock, DCMS, launched the Culture is Digital campaign, which made us think, hang on, Ironbridge, culture, digital technology. I was in a school in Telford and there were some children there from really challenged backgrounds who really were being left behind.
If we can get 1 or 2 children.
It's about bringing creativity to some of the most deprived children in the country.
This time around, we are committed to leaving no one behind, right?
We thought
any job, and there will be tech in there.
It's incredible. I mean, the community's come together. We've had people from Barclays, we've had people from BT running coding. Was Monday morning, I got a call from Matt Hancock's office saying Matt's got 10 minutes in his diary, pop down, let's make a video, and we did that. And on the wall behind him was a Damien Hirst painting, a spin painting of the Queen. And today we've had children a picture on the wall of the Digital Culture, Media and Sport Minister, Matt Hancock. So thank you, Matt.
I hope you really think about those STEAM skills, bringing technology and arts together.
Matt Hancock there, then Digital Culture. Trains, the art of trains, Trains Connect in Medlock Primary School in Salford, Manchester. Her son's passionate about trains, and I know I think it drives her a little bit crazy. And for me, I think I'd just say, just thank goodness your kid's got a passion. Thank goodness they've got something they love and they dream about and they get excited about, because not many kids do, and that's our job. We've got to help our kids find their passion, help them aim high, higher than high, help them find that. And if it's their art, if their art is drains, if their art then becomes engineering or coding from that, or making or drawing or painting. I know I've shown this 1,000 times, but that film of me and my dad and my first ever train set, I'm going to but this is if I can find it, where did I put that? Where I was yesterday, actually. We helped do the Decolonising the Curriculum conference in this playground, and that's me in front of a video screen on top of a lorry that I borrowed. And this is the video we played, a video of me and my dad when I was 1 with my first ever train set. And I love showing this to kids all over the country. I've shown it to thousands. I didn't used to publicise this because obviously it gives the game away, but I say to the kids, did you see how my and metal? And I say, no, I just use my imagination. My dad told me and taught me how to use my imagination. And I've got loads of video. Dad's shot about, well, I say loads, about 12 hours. I've shot 130 hours probably on this channel in a month. And my dad, because when my dad was making those films, you used to buy little reels of film from Boots the Chemists, and you'd put it in your camera and you'd expose it to light. You get it back and you put it in your projector. And my dad spent hours sticking them all together and editing them and doing little stop motion clips, and maybe we'll get it off. And I didn't have time because I'm so back to back. I've been 16, 18 nowadays. And my dad gave me this, and this is his old projector. That's the way it was meant to be. Maybe Kelvin sort of did the right thing and had a word with the man upstairs. He said, you know what? You don't need digital. You don't need technology. Your memories are on there. And that's the kind of vibe, really. So I'm playing for time because we have got somebody coming on in a moment who's going to give me a fantastic memory. That's a disaster waiting to happen. All that film's now spooling off there. This is like nightmares. Get Malumba back up. So how are we doing, Malumba? Any progress? There's a very empty artist studio there. Look, there's no Malumba. There's not that. And see if I've got anybody trying to connect with me here. Let's have a look. No. Let's see if this is helping me at all. Bring him and see if, instead of asking Malumba to do it. Let's just, I don't think I've got enough credit. I don't think I've got, I have got credit. Let's let me do. Oh no, not online. Okay, so that number's, okay Malumba, that number's lot online. How did you get on? Did you get anywhere?
As I gave it to you.
I am dialing the whole thing, +44, and it says not online. You sure you got the number right?
It does, but they're having trouble.
They're having trouble connecting with us?
Yeah.
Why? Did you just type the Steamco and that address into the... Okay, that's a shame, because my dad...
Have you tried it again?
Yeah, it's just not coming up. It's saying invite to Skype, to call.
Back again. I'm
Okay.
going to step out, bring him
No,
again,
you don't
and
have to
have him
step
try
out. Well,
bringing you.
I'll mute you. It's fine. Oh, the suspense is killing me. In Bradford, the internet dropped out about 20 times. Oh my goodness, it was a nightmare. So what should we do? Should I find another video? Let's see what else we got here. Let's find you a Rocket Boys film. There's a really cool one here. So this is the launch of our Rocket Kids Club. Yeah, the Out of School Art Club in the Cloud. Maybe I should do it over here on this machine. Let's do it over here. Yeah, let's find you the Rocket Kids Club film, because that's a good one. Bits and pieces. Here we go. Let's play this. Well, Mr. Dyson, need to flick that onto that screen. Let's do that. So this starts with me on a video call, which is widely acknowledged as a very, very socially deprived part of the world, and I hope that people don't mind me saying that. We'd sort of got our act together. I had a big sign up that said #work, and I can't thank you enough. So this is what we call you need in there to keep you inspired, to keep your children in. You've got some instructions, you've got some stickers, you've got some lovely coloured, you've got a t-shirt each. You're going to put those t-shirts on for me in a minute, boys. So you can make a rocket this afternoon with that. We're going to teach you how to do that later on when Homer Hickam comes on. You have got a copy of the Rocket Kids book, which we wrote with Mr. Dyson and Macaulay there from Parklands. You've got a Rubik's Cube. You need to do a Rubik's Cube, but how to program and to get robots to do a Rubik's Cube. Code, and we're going to teach you how to code that. And I'm going to do that in a minute, actually. I'm going to hopefully show you how to do that, which is one of these. Or you've got some coloured crayons there. You can code using programming languages or simple things, or you can even just get it to straight. We're going to give some more of these away as prizes. And I'm going to teach you how to do the coding. What do you think of that? What's special for me is that while you've been there talking about your rocket, look at that. They blew the nose off. Homer Hickam, hello.
Surely has to be looked at as one of the most epic stories for human.
Man, one of the most inspiring people you could ever wish to meet. Generous, a chap called Homer Hickam. He wrote the only job that there was, and he saw a little dot in the sky one day, which was Homer Hickam. When he was a boy, he saw these dots, and it was a satellite. It was the world's first satellite, and it inspired him to go, and a year or so later, and he got a job working for NASA, and they're the people who make the rockets and went to the moon.
20, 12, 11, 10,
9, 8, 2, 1. Whoa! And all in a box of books in an Oxfam bookshop. And we're delighted. Our Rocket Kids Club, an online, an out of hour, yeah, just brilliant. Really can't believe my luck on that one. Let's just jump back to, so here we are, back in that button there. Malumba, how are we doing? Have you managed to track anybody down for us? Their names?
It's because I'll tell you why I'm excited, because it's really a testament to the kindness of people. The gentleman that you're about to introduce is just so welcoming. I sort of jump in out of the blue, and he's so welcoming. And then at the same time, in our little conversation, he's described to me an idyllic place where things move slowly, and so it was a bit of a, and he kept repeating, I'm still in the steam age. I'm still in the steam age, and it was very beautiful. So,
brilliant.
So I'm very pleased. And
well, okay. Well, I'm going to press this button now and see if we can connect to Keith Good. Absolutely, this is absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much.
We've got a slight problem this end, insofar that we don't know how we got.
Have you got an iPhone or an Android phone?
Android.
The screen. If you tap the screen twice quite quickly, got beautiful.
Also, have we gone round now? Can you see my railway engine?
Your finger.
This I started building railway engines about 30 years ago.
Point down a little bit. Point down just a little.
Royal Scot class, but the Royal Engineer within that Scot class, and it's from about 19. The thing on the top is a fan. The engine works on exactly the same principle as the full size.
Wow!
I can't believe.
And you actually you've built that from scratch, pieces of metal, have you?
Yes, sort of metal. There's a fire in here.
I can't believe it.
Water pump.
And you actually pieces of metal, have you?
It helps if it's on the track. Got to warm it up first, otherwise, and then the piston can't go backwards or forward because it's full of cold water, and it's what's called and it's flowing out, scorning hot water. Swimming hot.
You got a bit of a derailment there, have you?
Yes.
And still, sorry, I thought it was.
That's my husband.
Go and get some.
Goes with the engine.
Try and get some.
We'll come down here in a minute.
Lovely. Oh, this is why I do this. This is why I do this.
Is that okay?
That was fantastic. Yeah. Oh my goodness, it's another world, isn't it? What do you think, Malumba? Have you got your microphone muted, Malumba? Can't hear you. I don't know why. Oh, I've got you turned down. Carry on. Go again, Malumba.
This was my dream. Where I was, it was not possible to have something like this. But we had a park down the road that had a miniature steam train which we could go on. It's absolutely magical.
Isn't it? To think he's made that from pieces of metal and cutting and lathes, pipe and bar and and
wow.
So it doesn't blow up. It has a safety valve which is going.
Wow.
It doesn't like going this slow, really. But.
Keith, what class of loco did you say that was?
It's the Royal Engineer.
Interesting.
It's a Royal Scot class. It's unrebuilt, which means it's got a parallel boiler. Later on, they rebuilt the engines with tapered boilers, which was Royal Scot, and that's what it is.
I was going to say it's a train spotter attention to detail, but I remember getting the sleeper train to Penzance about 3 years ago to Mounts Bay Academy, and I got there at 7 o'clock.
It probably was, yes. I think it's the there is one, yes.
And I think it's owned by a very wealthy hedge fund manager, philanthropist.
Takes a bit more money.
Yeah, he's got a little bit more resource to play with, hasn't he?
Faster normally.
Wealthy hedge fund manager. Audio echoing Malumba.
The engine's run out of water, so Keith's just going to fill stuff again.
I didn't put a lot in because I didn't want to spend half an hour steaming, getting the pressure up.
So Anne, you had some. Do you have some boys? I can't remember your family. What was your family makeup?
Playing on his computer, but he's had all his lessons online from school, so he's sort of stuck.
It's interesting because a lot of schools aren't doing online stuff because they think there's a all day as well. It's interesting. Is he down at Ludlow School? Is he?
They actually communicate lesson and they handwork in during the lesson and get feedback. So he's sitting in a
task basically then, and holding them, making sure they get the stuff done.
Yeah, the grades and everything is still being put on, how they're doing with that. No, he's at Hereford Cathedral School.
Oh right, okay. Is that sixth form or?
No, it's the independent school, the big school on top of the cathedral choir. No,
Lovely.
he hasn't. He's in year 10. He's one of these kids who'll be taking his GCSEs next year.
Right. Well, good for him. Do you think he's going to get it running around again once time? Should we hang around for that one more loop, or it looks like
he's just getting the water in the. Right, he's going to go again.
What a beautiful day you've got there. We should have fired a rocket.
It's actually like the colder weather because you see all the smoke coming out the chimney.
Oh,
they
I
look
see.
really dramatic. So.
A bit more condensation. Yeah.
Yeah, you see.
Get that shot for us again, Anne, as it comes down the line. That's a very dramatic shot.
Going very fast now. On to them to slow them down.
Here
she should have all her coaches on, but
here she comes. Keith, thank you so much for that. To Keith, thank you so much for that, Keith. You have no idea. I don't know if you and Dad will be watching this and they'll love it. So thank you so much, and thank you, Anne, as well.
It isn't.
Bless you. Thank you so much. I'll drop you a line. I'll send you a link to the video. Thank you so much. Bye bye. Country.
It's incredible.
Oh my goodness, that is so much more we could have done there, but it was lovely, and I wanted to capture some of the stuff my mum and dad had done so that other people might think, yeah, my mum and dad are whatever, so if they're the same, let's get them out, let's celebrate these stories. Hopefully a few people think this is vaguely good use of Arts Council funding. LGFL, Ludlow, London, Leeds, local Grid for Learning. I thank John Jackson, Bob Usher and Laura and all the team there at LGFL for supporting us, for having some faith, for funding this equipment before we went into lockdown, lock-in, and make it, and it helps. Saturday Oxford, Saturday night DJing with Sky Larkin. We did get some stuff out to Sky Larkin in the post, so we caught the post with him. Fantastic. So thank you very much, Malumba, for all your hard work today.
I'm trying to multitask.
It's all good. I'll let you crack on. Thank you for your help today. We'll be in touch.
Not to worry. Let's speak soon.
Definitely. This came because my dad found that book in an Oxford bookshop. Not an Oxford, a Ludlow bookshop. I wrote a book with 9 stories that spin out from that, which we're doing on our half-day project. But this book says it all for me. My dad's a bird man. My dad's a bird man. Dad is building a pair of wings, eating flies and feathering his nest. Auntie Doreen is getting cross and making dumplings. Mr. Poop is parading in the streets, shouting louder and louder. And even Mr. Mint, the head teacher, is getting in a flap. And watching it all is Lizzie, missing her mam and looking after Dad and thinking how beautiful the birds are. A crazy idea, Steamco? I don't know, whatever.
It might not work, but here's the thing. The guy who invented the ship also invented the shipwreck. And either you're in or you're out. Either you want to play this game or you don't. Art doesn't work because we did something conventional and predictable, and here it is industrialized, right? Art works because we connect.
So the festival that we will be organising in 2022 is a festival of creativity in its broadest sense. So what we're looking for is events that will help to bring people together and show the value of art.
An event like this is absolutely overdue. Being from a working class families where we never have access to the arts.
I think this is amazing, and we should encourage Nick to do more of this so that we can connect friends through art. Is actually amazing.
Well, a lot of schools have taken music out of their curriculum, and I find that really appalling.
This book is going to change lives. There are 7 stories.
Keep doing what you're doing. I love your passion. Please keep doing what you're doing, inspiring the kids. I think it's great. Not enough parents spend enough time with the kids. They leave them on the iPads and things like that, and I absolutely love it. Keep doing what you're doing. I love your passion.
Boys will be boys, better let them have their toys. Girls will be girls, cute ponytails and curls. Must put an end to this stress and strife. I think I want to live that sporting life.
I'm going to make it happen for you, Nick.
I appreciate that.
Well, I'm going to make it happen for you because what you're doing is, in the end, absolutely brilliant.
I had the idea of getting a big screen to come here and celebrate, and I did a thing called a crowdfunder. I said to lots of people, I only gave myself 24 hours, and they said, you'll never do it.
One time for the Lord.
I think creativity is absolutely everything, you know, to secure the jobs for the future.
Niall, what does collaboration mean to you?
For me, collaboration is everything. So my whole life is a collaboration.
We'd like to say that, in our opinion, it is not suitable for children or for those of you who may have a nervous disposition.
Well, I've just survived the first test of the hashtag community lock-in studio here in Paddington in West London. We had a whole load of kit lined up for this. Got a vision mixer here with 8 channels of video coming in from laptops. We've got 3 laptops down here where we're going to have people Skyping in. We had a few people Skype in today.
But where are you, Sunderland? So how's it going there in Spain, Alicante? I mean, Spain's had a very bad time with the virus, isn't it? Co-Fight 19. And that's basically a project all about giving people hope and the power and the courage to fight the virus. Okay, we'll have a chat about that later on. I'm live in the studio till 2 in theory.
We can do all sorts of cool stuff. So I've got that image there of Glastonbury. I've got a camera there of me. I've got a big video screen at the back. And when I press that button there, I appear as if like magic up on the screen there at Glastonbury. So I've got the robot, I've got JD the robot. Using the controls here, we can move his head around and we can even make him fly. The art of robots, the art of drawing, the art of dancing, the art of photography, fashion, whatever. We are celebrating creativity. The hashtag community lock-in is all about creativity. It's all about art. We're doing 4 things. We're doing the Art Connect stuff, so promoting art and the power of creativity in our schools, work and lives to help kids connect with their learning, to create careers, to fuel the economy once we get it back on its feet, and to connect communities. And I think that's what's really coming out in this coronavirus crisis. The second thing is we're launching the hashtag Rocket Kids Club, which is a social media platform for parents and their kids, creative carers and their kids to do stuff together. Going to be a load of stuff with that. We're also launching the UK Art Takeover, a month of activities in May, and we're going to be doing hashtag co-conferences, starting with one for LGFL on the 23rd of April, all broadcasting here from the studio here in Paddington in London. Sign up for updates, be part of it with your art. So that's it. Thank you very much. That was my day in Ludlow, the art of Ludlow, my county hometown. Shropshire lad goes home with a few cameras and a few bits and pieces and just makes it up as he goes along. Tomorrow we're in Leeds, today Ludlow, and I'll leave you with the image of the Millennium Green. And if ever you go there, I hope you'll remember the community and the people that made it possible.
I have a dream. One day, this nation will rise up, live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created. I have a dream.